guys. We'll start with the broadcast section with no embargo, followed by the embargo section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. No live tweeting during the broadcast section, and there's a microphone provided. Michael.
Ange, happy Easter.
Thank you, mate. I'm Greek Orthodox. Mine's in about a month's time, but appreciate it.
How are we looking team news-wise after the international break?
Yeah, look, first thing is, I guess all the internationals got through unscathed. Most of them got some meaningful game time too, which is important. So they've all come back all good. And in terms of their injuries, obviously Mickey was the one that missed the last game. He's trained the last couple of days and available.
International break, obviously, but there's been little bits of news. Obviously, a friendly arranged with Newcastle in Melbourne a few days after the end of the season. With the Euros and the Copa America looming after that, can you understand there's been a bit of criticism over the friendly?
Yeah, look, I guess with all these decisions, there's always going to be kind of conjecture and scrutiny around why they're made. But, I think from our perspective, like any club, you kind of weigh up the benefits and the costs of doing something. And, we, for one reason or another, we haven't had a lot of games this year, and there's a unique opportunity for us to add a game at the end of the year. I'm obviously part of that discussion, and we're mindful of the players and the schedule. But like I said, when we weighed it all up, we thought it was still going to be really beneficial for us as a football club, and we've gone that way.
I know it was a disappointing night for Wales, but shots running on Sky Sports News the next day, just Ben Davies in the middle of his Welsh teammates, really sort of 5-minute, real passionate speech from him. I've never seen that personally all the years I've been covering Tottenham. We're kind of proud of him watching that.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I love our players playing for their national teams, and I know what it means to them and for them. And look, Ben's an outstanding character. I sense that straight away in terms of the way he carries himself, the way he thinks about the game, the way he thinks about his position in the game, the influence he can have. And, I think from my perspective, the more of those kind of guys you can have in a dressing room, it helps you sort of make sure that the standards you want to create and the environment you want to create is going to be the one where it can take us to another level. And Ben's certainly one of those. And, he's been great for us every time he's played this year. Obviously, probably wanted to play a bit more, but at the same time, it's a testament to his character that whenever he has played, he's been ready to play, and he trains the house down every day. And disappointed for him, gutted for him. Obviously him and Brennan being in the team, but especially for him, because you realise at some point in your career that these kind of tournaments are eventually going to run out, the opportunity to qualify for them. So when you don't, it can be obviously pretty disappointing.
Finally, and most important from me, Richarlison this week, speaking so openly. I remember speaking to you in September about it, but he's spoken this week. Really brave. A reminder, I suppose no one really knows what's going on. He spoke openly about the post-World Cup and how much he struggled. It's not just Tottenham and Everton fans, but I think everyone, millions have watched it and think so highly of him. What have you spoken to him in your thoughts? And it's just a reminder, isn't it? It doesn't matter who you are, how much you earn. We just don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Absolutely. I think I've said before, strip it all back. They're all just human beings. And no, I haven't spoken to Richie, but I think Richie has really benefited from the support that does exist, not just for him, but for others in the community. And I think because he has benefited so directly, I think he's taken on the responsibility of trying to share that around now, and it always makes more of an impact when it is somebody who's higher profile or in a position where we think, they shouldn't really have any problems, or we see it as a sign of weakness when they're looking for help and support. And it's a credit to him that he could have dealt with this privately, obviously, but I think the public aspect of it is a brave decision for him, but more importantly, it's a great sort of, hopefully, a conduit for others to reach out and seek help, when it's required. And as I said, there's always a balance to these things, and whether that's Richie or anyone else, is that you always understand that for all of us, we've got challenges in our lives, we've all got problems, and there's help you can get out there, and it shouldn't be. Hopefully get to the point where it's so overwhelming that it takes over everything else you do. And like I said, credit to Richie, he's he's sought help, he's got help, the right help, and now he wants others to also benefit from it.
Hi, Ange. Obviously, you've got your full squad back together again now. Do you feel that the 2-week break came at a good time off the back of the loss to Fulham? I mean, what have you seen from your players in training today? Perhaps was it a good time to reset the emotions after that loss?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, at the end of the day, every international window is the same. You play the game, the last game before it, and whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, that by the time they leave the dressing room, they're gone for a good 10 days. So, we use that time best we can with the guys we've got back here, and then you kind of hope, like I said, they get through their international commitments unscathed. And once you get back, the key thing for us then is to make sure that when they're back with us. And part of that process is to review the last game, go through it, give them the feedback they need, and then look ahead. And training was good today. It's the first day we've had everyone in today, and they look good, they look bright, and ready to go.
What has been the feedback from yourself and the coaching staff to your players ahead of the game against Luton?
Look, a tough game. Luton have been ultra competitive all year. They've always, in every game, really made it hard for the opposition. I think Rob's done a brilliant job this year, considering all the challenges they've had and the challenges they've currently got with injuries. Like I said, every game I watch them, they're always competitive. They always make it difficult for the opposition, and it'll be no different for us tomorrow, and we've just got to be ready for it. We're back at home. Obviously the last game was disappointing, but we want to make sure that we get back to playing our football and be at our best, because that's what's going to be needed.
Just staying on Luton finally, I mean, obviously you beat them 1-0 back in October, and Rob Edwards has said that his team are going to go on the all-out attack tomorrow. So what can you take from that first game against Luton this season going into tomorrow's one?
Look, it was a different game. You definitely take away the competitiveness and how hard it is to play, at that venue with a crowd so close to the pitch. We obviously had Eves Basuma sent off, and it was a different kind of victory for us. But you can see on that day that they're an ultra competitive team, and you hear a lot of coaches say they'll go out all out and attack, but Rob backs up his words with actions. When I've seen them play, whether that's against City or Liverpool or Arsenal or any of the top clubs, they've still gone out and been really aggressive. So they're going to be aggressive against us, and we're going to be ready for it.
Ange, can I just very quickly check on Richarlison? He didn't play any minutes for Brazil. Is he okay, fitness-wise?
Yeah, he's okay. He's had a bit of a knee niggle that we've kind of been managing him, and I think Brazil managed him, but he trained today and he feels good, so he's available.
Back on Ben Davies, got his UEFA A licence this week. I think he wants to do his pro licence before he finishes playing as well. You've obviously someone that's given a lot of young coaches opportunities.
Just destroyed the chair there, mate. He's not getting my job, mate. He's got a bit of a way to go, Ben.
Yeah,
so.
Essentially, can you spot people like Ben quite early on when you know a player can be a manager going forward?
Not really. It's hard, but what you do need is, especially, I think I've said before that the demands on coaching and being a manager are greater than they ever have been, and you've got to be really committed to it. And part of that process is obviously doing your badges, which is not easy. It requires a huge time commitment, a financial commitment, and that's kind of the first part of it. And then, you're not necessarily going to start at the top. It'd be great if we all did, but you've got to put in some hard yards there. And so, for me, it's one thing to sort of be, really passionate about it and sort of wanting to explore the possibility of it. But as I've said to many players, if you think it's an extension of your playing career, it's nothing like it. It's a totally different experience. But like I said, part of that process is making sure you try and gain as much knowledge as you can along the way. And Ben's already showing those qualities. You need to have a constant curiosity about getting better and trying to improve yourself. And it's a good place for him to start. But I still think he's got a bit in his locker in terms of his playing, and I'll be making sure that that's still his main priority.
Kind of similar-ish lines. Dejan Kulusevski had to deliver a bit of an impromptu team talk to the Sweden squad, and he's admitted that he kind of nicked bits of your team talk that you've given. Kind of, how does that make you feel? Does it kind of make you feel you've made an impact? Or?
It's okay if they win. I wouldn't be happy if he was using my words, and they didn't. No, look, you kind of, you hope. It's not always the case, but you hope when you talk, people are listening, and you hope that you can make an impact on them from not just a football perspective, from a life perspective as well. And like I said, sometimes sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. Sometimes there's probably a valid reason why they don't listen, because I can talk some garbage myself. So, but if they can take away stuff that's positive, I think that's it's great for me. But more importantly, shows me that at least I'm getting their attention most of the time.
And Christian Romero said this week that he would like to play at the Olympics if possible. Obviously, you have the Copa America as well. I know obviously you like players to play for their country. Is there any concern that any lack of rest you might get this summer?
Yeah, look, with all those things, I mean, the Olympics is a little bit of a different issue, because clubs aren't obliged to let players go for the Olympics, and from that perspective, we have a little bit more of a say in it than kind of other internationals, and certainly from our behalf as a club, we'll always be looking at kind of making sure that there's a balance there, and he hasn't spoken to me about it, no one's spoken to me about it, but I guess my pretty strong advice would be that with the Copa America at the same time, and hopefully gearing up for a big season next year, I'd be suggesting rest is a better policy.
Just very quickly, because I just remembered it. Rodrigo Bentancur said this week he's been playing with a broken toe for last month. Does it just kind of show what a warrior he is? Yeah,
it's broken small toe. He's got 9 others. It's. I don't think. I think no one can question Rodrigo's courage with what he's had to deal with recently. It's one of those things, but he didn't want to stop playing, and medical advice was he could keep playing, so he's still been training and playing. He hasn't missed a session as far as I can see, and I think he's better now anyway, so he's fine.
Okay, we'll finish with George, please.
Hi, Ange. I just wanted to go back to the Fulham game. When you reflected on that, what did you sort of see? What are the things you saw that you didn't sort of like about that performance?
Oh, there was a whole range of things. I think I said after the game, we just we didn't work as hard as we have been in other games. It was probably the first game this year where I haven't felt our competitive levels were where they should have been. And when they're not, you're gonna pay a price, and we did on the day. I thought Fulham were good. It's a tough venue anyway. They're really good at home, and we just didn't reach certain levels, both in the physical aspect of the game, which, like I said, we've been really consistent in that this year. Whilst our actual play and our performances have fluctuated a little bit, our competitive level has always been really good. I just didn't think it was at the levels it needed to be. So, we kind of addressed that with the guys, and like I said, we're going to have to get back up to where we have been for a tough game tomorrow.
And just wanted to talk about the Premier League fixture list. I mean, you've got 10 games left, 7 weeks of the season, but 2 of those games, Chelsea away and Man City home, you actually don't know when they're going to be. How sort of unhelpful is that kind of uncertainty, which you wouldn't sort of normally associate with the so-called best league in the world?
Well, I mean, I guess, it's been, look, I think I said before, it's been a real weird season from that point of view of just there hasn't been any real consistency or flow to our season. Some of it self-inflicted because obviously we didn't have, long cup runs. We weren't in Europe. But it just feels like we've always had some sort of disruptions, weekends off or, midweek games at unusual times, uncertainty. So it's just been that kind of season for us. We've just sort of got to get on with it. At the end of the day, like I said, we know we've got 10 games to go. We know when the last game is, and we'll have to play the other ones in between and just be ready for them.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. We'll move on to the embargo for